calling to order the July 23rd meeting of the Planning Commission for Corte Madera. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Well, you're going to call the roll after we have the election, according to this agenda here. So.
I think that's fine, yeah.
So.
Okay, if we're going to do the election of officers, I would like to.
I'll second that.
Would,
Well, repeat it? Okay.
all right. So, Bob, you second that. Anybody else?
Heard it?
So we take a vote. Is that seconded?
Sure.
Unless there's another nomination. Okay. All right.
Okay. I will,
Just ask all in favor.
I'll say ask all in favor.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. The motion is carried, and we'll retain Commissioner Chase will be the chair going forward for this year.
And
I would like to nominate Phyllis Metcalf as vice chair.
Thank you.
Second.
any other? Okay. Let's roll it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Like that. Thank you
Now
very
call
much.
the roll.
Nobody has to move any seats here. Okay. Commissioner Metcalf.
Here.
Commissioner Bundy.
Here.
Commissioner Chase.
Here.
Commissioner Lee. Here. Commissioner Bendel.
Here.
All right. We continue as we are. So now is the time in the meeting that if there's someone in the audience that would like to comment on something that is not on the agenda, we would open it to that. But I think everyone here tonight is for that which is on the agenda. So we will say we close the public comment and move directly to our new hearing tonight. This is a hearing titled Marin Luxury Cars, a public hearing for design review and variance for modifications to the existing Land Rover, Jaguar, and Volvo dealerships and associated signs at 195 and 201 Casa Buena Drive. This is a PL 2019-00338 DRC and 0039 variance. Mr. Boyle.
Peter, I'd
Yes.
like to just tell everybody that this is a business that I patronize on a regular basis. I don't think it would keep me from being impartial, but I just want to tell everybody that
Done business there.
I like this business.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Any further declarations? We'll get into it.
Do I have to announce that I own a Jaguar?
No, we don't push the boundary that far, I
Okay.
think, but thank you for that. So, with that said, Dr. Bundy.
I sort of covet the F-type Jaguar, but I did also meet with Mr. Price to understand more detail about this proposal.
All right. Thank you very much. I won't declare anything. So, Mr. Boyle, please proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, and good evening, Commissioners. Yes, the project before you is Marine Luxury Cars, proposal to remodel the exterior of the building, modifications to the front and two side elevations, as well as modifications to the signage on the property, and also modifications to the site itself. The application also includes a variance to allow parking in the front setback, which is the area adjacent to Casa Buena Drive. So I will go over more detail each one of those aspects of the application. The project is located, as you can see here, just south of the Tamalpais overpass at 101. A little bit of background with the project. The dealership has been in existence since the late 60s. It has had a variety of different automobiles that they've sold over the many decades. The most recent entitlements include in 2003, the Planning Commission approved design review and sign permit application for 148 square feet of building mounted signs for the various dealerships that were for sale. Also in 2004, Planning Commission approved another design review and sign permit application and variance for modifications to the dealership. The new signs and variants back then in 2004 allowed for 2 freestanding signs on the 2 parcels of 195 and 201 Casa Buena. And these are 2 parcels, but the Planning Commission looked at these 2 properties, these 2 dealerships, as basically one cohesive unit, and considered to be one complex for purposes of determining the sign allowance. And so as you can see here, that the squared parcel right there is 195 Casa Buena, and just to the right or to the east is 201 Casa Buena. The large monument sign that we'll talk about is on 201, closer to the freeway. In 2004, the Planning Commission approved, the 2004 Planning Commission approval was appealed, and in November 2004, the Town Council denied that appeal and upheld the Planning Commission's decision for the new signage and the design of the buildings. Back in 2013, there was a renovation of the showroom entrance and the area to the west of the main building, which has the Volvo dealership, and that's when a canopy was approved back in 2014. So that's a little bit of history. Again, talking first about the existing site plan and the existing elevations. The existing are shown here, one in graphic form by the applicant on the upper left, and then down below is a photograph of what exists today. As you notice on the upper picture, to the bottom left of the upper picture is the test track, which we'll talk about, which is being changed as well. The scope of work for the project is the gray areas. The upper gray is the existing, again, mainly dealing with the main front of the showroom, which faces Casa Buena and Canal Street, as well as removing the test track, which is in the front area there, and replacing that with 15 parking spaces. And that's the variance which they're asking for, instead of having that test track, which just in many regards was also a parking of vehicles for, to be shown for sale. It was, it's an undulating parking space that is being removed, and instead 15 spaces are being created that are, again, parallel to each other and much more traditional way of displaying the cars. The applicant will surely speak to this, but I think the main motivation is to increase the ability to have a greater amount of vehicles on site as inventory. They are providing a significant amount of landscaping that will buffer these cars from Casa Buena. It's not shown in this particular slide, but future slides will show, in addition to the existing palm trees that are going to stay, is about 10 feet or so of landscaping that will be in front of the cars. This is shown here. This is the landscape plan that's in your packet. A variety of different shrubs and ground covers, which I discuss in page 4 of the staff report, will provide a buffer. All of these plantings are drought tolerant and are connected to automatic irrigation systems. So moving from the site plan to the modification of the building itself. Currently, the building, going from left to right, has a shed roof element, and then a tower element, and then the building more or less a flat roof. Some articulation in the front for the main entrance, and then moving to the right, another type of tower element with the Jaguar dealership and signage there. That's what we see today, and then down below is the proposal The applicant, of course, will go into more detail on their design and intent of the design, but it clearly simplifies the various elements. They switch the Jaguar to the left and the Land Rover to the right. The roof line, the maximum height of the building actually decreases because there's the maximum height today are those two tower elements, and the new roof will be, I believe, about 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet below the top of those towers. Obviously, the main materials that are being used on the outside are being changed, reduced amount of glass, and instead of that aluminum type of siding that is being used, main entrance stays the same. Again, that's highlighted with a different type of material above the front door. Commissioner Bundy has the materials board, which shows examples of all the different materials that are being used. Moving to signs and this type of the signs that are being changed, basically 3 elements of the sign program are changing. The signs that are on the building itself, the monument sign that is on 201 Casa Buena, and the monument sign that is currently at 195 Casa Buena. These are the this is a little bit mixed up. The top slide is the proposed signage. The left side is the existing signage, and the lower right is existing signage as well. That'll show you how those change. Again, highlighting how the building signs will change. Red are the signs shown there. In terms of modifications to the larger freeway monument sign at 201, basically the Range Rover sign will be removed, and the other signage will just fill in the space. No physical changes to the tower itself, no changes to illumination, just going from 5 different logos to 4. Or I should say panels. In terms of the modification to the 195 Casa Buena sign, it is currently a horizontal sign of approximately 5.5 feet, and that's being replaced with a vertical sign element that will be approximately 10 feet in height. And again, one of the panels is being removed, and so you'll go from 4 panels to 3. All of the signs will be internally illuminated, as is shown on the plans. All signs will have dimmers and timers, and will meet all the requirements of the town's lighting requirements. And that basically concludes my presentation. Staff is able to make all of the findings regarding the area of the signs. I've listed in the staff report and is shown on one of the plan sheets. The square footage of each of the signs, they all conform to both the Corte Madera Municipal Code and the Master Sign Program, which is established when the dealership was built. Staff is able to make all the findings for design review in terms of the quality of the materials, and the aesthetics of the improvements. And lastly, staff is able to make the variance findings, which I discussed on page 4 of the staff report in terms of allowing that. Basically, like I said, an existing parking area with the test track is being modified and expanded to be a more traditional parking area with additional vehicles, and like I said, the additional landscaping to try to screen some of those vehicles. So have the findings here. If you have any particular findings for both design review and variance, if you'd like to discuss or ask me questions about, I'm available, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle.
Sure.
So, starting with the commissioners, do you guys have any questions for Mr. Boyle? Phyllis?
No.
Dr. Bundy?
No.
Charles?
I have one. So in the renderings and in the elevations, I see that they're gonna do a flagpole with an American flag. But then that's not an existing condition, that's something new that they're adding? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, did you say the American flag on
Yeah,
the left?
flag and the flagpole.
That is a good question. I can go to my photo. Yeah, I see the flag there on the,
Okay.
yep.
Alright.
So I honestly don't know if the flagpole is moving.
That's existing
And just existing to remain, right? Because, yeah, we've never had, since I've been on the commission, I've never seen a flag or a flagpole being proposed, and so I didn't know if there's any conditions on those, but just out of curiosity. Oh, hello? It was pushed in, okay, yeah, sorry, I just stepped back a little bit. Yeah, so I was just wondering if ultimately, if someone proposes a new one, if there's any kind of considerations for it. I guess was the reason I asked.
Yeah. There are regulations related to flagpoles. I don't know them off the top of my head, but there are provisions for height and so on.
Yeah, and you know, whether they can be
Illumination.
illuminated, right, yeah. But, you know, it's existing, so thank you.
Margaret?
I have no questions.
Okay, well, I have a couple for you. Is there a place in these plans that describes any changes to the exterior lighting other than the bollards?
There, no, there is no proposed exterior lighting, as I mentioned in the staff report, to the parking lot itself. They do go quite in detail of the interior lighting that they're proposing to change. But my understanding is that is the only exterior lighting that they're proposing, is those bollards, which is on page
Well, I see the bollards on
page
it.
822.
But, and the applicant will address this, but I'm asking you now so they'll know I'm going to ask them, is that the LED lighting on the interior is at the glass throughout the showroom. And then it looks like they have LED strips front to back throughout the building in there. The only reason I bring it up relates to two properties. One is the one across the highway, and the other one is the T-Mobile building that,
Town center.
if it came before us, we wouldn't have approved that. So I'm concerned of the interior lighting and any, what the plans are for illumination, nighttime. And I'll ask them also about the glass says it's clear in the report. Do you have any indication that's anything other than clear, like bronze coated or anything?
The glass in terms of the front,
Yeah.
the front glass?
No.
No, all, my indication is what's shown on the plans,
And
to be clear, yeah.
is this dealership using the property on Paradise for parking?
On Paradise.
Right,
No.
On San Clemente.
San
Right.
Clemente
yeah.
for
Those are
storage.
Volvos and stuff over there. I'm just curious.
They may be, I'm not
Okay.
aware.
All right.
I mean, those exterior parking, or those extra parking of cars out there, yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. So I don't think we have anyone else wanting to ask any questions, so we'll turn it over to the applicant to make their presentation. So, you guys are probably primed and ready. Phil will get you set, and whoever's going to speak.
Right is forward and left is back.
Okay, great. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Christian Oakes with TWM Architects. I think Phil has covered the program pretty well. We've been working on this for some time. What I'd like to show, in addition to what he's shown, is that there's not a lot of impact to the rest of the community with this, but a large impact to the customer experience. The Jag Land Rover started in San Rafael in two separate businesses, and we brought it here to Corte Madera in 2004. This site was a very rundown Chevrolet dealership that had been vacant for a while, and did a really substantial upgrade to the entire dealership. And I think it's worked pretty well here. This is a really important step to keeping a good relationship with Jag Land Rover, and essential to the vitality of the business and working with their marketing program. And keeping, one of the things that sticks in my mind is in the general plan to support revitalizing businesses in the C3 highway commercial district, and this really does that. The ownership of this dealership has really come in, built a really nice facility, and is continuing to improve it. So I just wanted to show you a few shots from Google Earth just to show you how hidden this property is. It doesn't really affect a lot of neighbors. It's tucked away from the freeway, and that's the importance of that large pylon sign out by the freeway. One of the things I'm not sure Phil might have been clear about is we are changing the base background material of all the signage so it matches the darker gray of the black and white he showed you. He was talking about the advertising sign, the logos, but the background material will all be that gray material. So it'll really tie to the building and enhance the relationship. There's a lot of screening of trees and freeway elements to this site. It's kind of hard to find, and that's one of the reasons it doesn't impact neighbors. It's also kind of hidden from the north. It's tucked behind a freeway interchange. When you're crossing over the overpass, it's really tucked in behind some large trees. When you drive by it on the freeway, it's pretty far back there, kind of hard to see. So this pylon sign is really important. And even when you're headed north on the freeway, again, it's really kind of tucked back there. So it really needs to be a great customer experience. This is the view from the hill, and I wanted to put this in to show that the dealership itself is really not going to change a lot. The work we're doing is on the very front corner, and so it'll be a similar impact to the neighbors up on the hill. And even from this direction, it's fairly hidden. I wanted to show you, this is just to familiarize yourself with the dealership. The customer experience is extremely enhanced in this new showroom. It's light and airy and spacious and really displays the cars well. And that's a lot of what's really important here. These images give you an idea clearly of what we're doing. This test track in the front really is going to be much more valuable as inventory parking. Another thing that's really important with the city in their general plan is to make sure to help alleviate parking problems. This frees up the site a little bit, removes something that's not really very that effective, and it's also written in Phil's comments that all these sites are a little small for these dealerships, and so it's really important to use these front areas for inventory, the front setback area. With me here tonight is Nick Price, part of the ownership, who managed Marin Luxury Cars for many years. Willie McDevitt, who did the original construction in 2004 and will be doing the construction again this time. We reassembled the entire design team. Our landscape architect, who's on medical leave, unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. We have John Govers, our civil engineer, here if you have any technical engineering issues with the site. Brenda's with our office at TWM. Nick can help answer those questions about where cars are being parked. There was another question you had that Nick might be better to answer than I.
Okay. So we'll let you finish up what you want to say, and then we'll go into questions. If
Okay.
You guys
Well,
have.
Nick wanted to give a brief presentation.
Great.
Sure. I just wanted to thank you guys for your time. Sorry. Just wanted to thank you guys for your time, and also, just our family's been in the kind of the automotive business for 40 years, and we're really just built on partnerships, kind of like Christian touched on, and partnerships to our customers. Thank you, but also the city, and as well as the manufacturer. And this is one of their big sticking points moving forward is this new brand facility. And frankly, it's actually the way they have it tied to our business. It's really important for kind of our survival in this business as well. So again, we're super excited. Christian and his team have designed this, and we think it could be a big deal for us and for our customers and for the city as well. So again, I just wanted to thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Who else will speak on your behalf tonight? Anybody else? Okay.
We do have one light fixture that moves.
Yes.
All right. Great. Okay. Thank you.
So we've, our firm has worked on the design and construction of a lot of all the Price facilities in Marin County and a lot of other car dealerships. And I'm the person at our firm that works on the lighting issues, which are numerous. In this case, the lighting, the site lighting's already been retrofitted to LED. It's kind of a low level for a dealership. I don't know how to speak technically to the exact light fixtures that I think your question was regarding light spillage out of from the building.
More or less, yes. Right.
And as part of that, there's two parts of that. There's glare from LED fixtures, which we all know is intense now that we've seen every street light in every town has got a ton of glare now. But there are two levels of lighting. One is ceiling linear. They're very narrow. They're maybe an inch wide or an inch and a half wide LED strips that are flush with the drywall ceiling. So they're up high, and that fixture is recessed slightly. If you look straight up, you're going to see glare. If you're standing in the front row of parking spaces, you're going to see glare. If you're standing out in the street, you're not going to know. And then there's a second level of lighting, which is the upper layer of lighting has got a very fine, they're focused to shoot straight down. There's a more general lighting, which is to light the cars, and they're also linear. They're very narrow. They're long, 25, 30-foot long strips that are probably, 6 or 8 inches high and 2 or 3 inches wide, and they have recessed LEDs linearly in them, and I just tried to look at the plan to see the mounting height of those, and I couldn't find it, but they're probably 10, 12 feet off the ground. Again, if you're standing really close to the building and you're looking straight up, you're going to see glare out of those things, at least out of the front row of them. But as soon as you get back a little bit, you won't even see the lights. And the showroom, what you're going to get from the showroom at night is if there's a light colored car in there, it's going to be the reflection of the lighting off the car, not the direct view of the LEDs that's going to catch your eye. Does that answer your question?
Well, it does address it to some extent.
Yeah.
And as everybody cannot help but be aware that the dealership across the freeway has visible elements in those lights, and they produce quite a glare at night.
Peter?
Yes.
The one across the freeway, not only were they called back several times to lower it, we actually made them put clear, slightly tinted shades to pull down at night. My concern would be, if I'm up on your lighting concerns, is I notice in the information here that we're going to pass, it talks about you have dimmers, but it doesn't talk about what time you're going to dim the lights. I mean, you certainly want the lights in the parking lot and inside, enough lighting for protection. But you don't want the same light at 3 o'clock in the morning that you're going to have earlier that affect things. And like even with the shopping centers, we give them a time, I think it's 11 o'clock, that they have to dim lights down. And I'm wondering if your firm is willing to do that. I mean, we could work with you, our staff can work with you to figure out the proper time, but I think it's important that the lights are dim after a certain time at night. But not enough, you know, that there's danger, you know, or chance of things being stolen.
That's an operational issue. The system is designed to have the capabilities to do what you're asking. So then it's just a matter of doing it.
Right.
If
and
there are
that's-
complaints, now the code is not only are the lights dimmable, but they have to automatically dim on bright days, and, there's different zones of lighting from, 1 to, whatever the height of the windows is, which I think is 12 feet here, Christian? So on a 1-to-1 angle, 12 feet in, any lights that are above that 12-foot imaginary 1-to-1 line are on a different control zone than lights that are farther in, so that they can be dimmed as daylight takes over. It's an energy-saving measure, which is required by code, and it will have that.
Well, I'm talking about dimming not when daylight takes,
Right.
but in the middle of the night.
No, my point is that everything
I know
is.
if they're capable
yeah.
of doing it, I just want to be sure it's done.
Yeah, and again, that's a programming issue that happens after construction, so if there are, it's a matter of the city and the dealership coming to terms, but it will, I think what you're concerned about is you want it done, but it can't be done unless the control system exists. The control system that we install will exist, so it's got the capabilities to meet the city's requirements.
Adam, are you the one, or Phil, who works with them after the construction of the building? And
Yes, absolutely.
okay, fine, thank you.
Yes, and and I will assure that gets, and I do realize I did forget to put that in, but I will add
Yeah,
that condition,
14,
standard condition.
You talked
Right.
about dark sky
Dark sky
compliant, but you
but
didn't
I
have
forgot
that addition.
the added part of having exterior lights be turned off,
Yes.
at 11 o'clock, or close of business, whichever is
Yes.
earliest. And like I did mention, they are not proposing, except for the bollards, they're not proposing any changes to the
Oh, it's
exterior
fine.
parking lot lights. And so maybe just to clarify, we're talking about interior lights
Right.
as well.
So, first, just getting the exterior lights off the table, understand nothing's really changing. Their bollards are great, they're nice. The lighting you have at the glass is different than the ceiling lights, is different from the suspended lights. So all three can conspire to provide a pretty significant amount of brightness and sort of, which you want for an auto dealership to a certain extent. But what we don't want is suddenly a new television screen over there of all that glass in the community where everybody goes, what the heck happened? Why are we looking at this fully illuminated big deal? On the other hand, you guys need to sell cars. That's important. So somewhere in between is a time that the lights get dimmed and brought down or shut off, and still you get the basic illumination that you want to show those cars at night, because then they look great.
Right.
But getting the glass to glow and whatever in it, no. Not so great for the community going, oh my God, what happened? And then the other side of it is that, I don't see it here, but will you guys be putting any of those stands in front of the glass that have video screens or ever-changing signs in front of them?
I think Christian would have to answer that, but
Large screens, like there are television monitors that back in.
Oh, you have,
yeah.
You have to
it's
be up there.
televised, so
he
you
has
have to be up.
You can
So-
answer that question.
Yeah, so to complete the portion about the lighting, the fact that they have daylighting controls also means that they have night lighting controls, which is, I think, is your concern.
Right, and we will, the condition will be put in there by the planner to make sure that it shuts off at the right time. Secondly, is that there, with most of these businesses, is an adjustment sort of time, and people get to go look at it and say, that's acceptable, right? And that's the planning department, and maybe the commission will go by and look at it. We're pretty liberal in that, but nonetheless, there has to be some sort of way to say you don't get full illumination all the time, et cetera.
Right.
And that's just the way it's gotta be. But other than that, the idea of television screens inside the building that run 24 hours a day, like some other businesses have, is just not good, cool, acceptable, right? So even if it's 4 feet back from there, to have a television screen that's going 24 hours a day is kind of nuts. And it's a visual pollution in a way.
Well, it's also not very green, and it's not very good management to leave them on all night, too.
So anyway, I think we're
Thank you.
in agreement on this stuff. But while you're up there, one of you guys can answer my question also about the parking that's on the street there. The intersection has just been remodeled by Public Works. Have anybody talked to them about visibility through the intersection of cars parked in that setback?
And which, just so I'm 100% clear, which area are you
So
talking about?
when you, yeah. They've just redone that intersection. You guys would be, they've been out there.
The new intersection.
Yes, right. And there was a lot of concern in previous meetings about cars being able to see oncoming vehicles, because the traffic at that intersection is going to increase with the closure of the Casa Buena intersection there to some extent. So visibility, big deal. Will this impinge visibility there at the intersection? Has that been discussed with Public Works?
I did, yes. This was reviewed by Public Works, and they did not see any problem with the new location of the cars being along the front setback. Again, given that the cars will be actually, because the test track undulated and was raised up, in Public Works' opinion, in many ways the cars will be lower, and I think in some cases the visibility may be improved. And again, the landscaping between the new parking strip will be shrubs and ground cover, so they don't expect that to be tall.
Right, and the more significant issue is actually when you're heading northbound on Connow and you hit Casa Buena, actually turning to your right, which is the other property and the vehicles there.
Yeah.
So as you're turning left onto Casa Buena, making sure that you're able to see cars coming basically from Marin Joe's in that direction while you're making a left turn to get back onto Tamalpais. That's been the more significant concern in this area.
Great. Dr. Bundy?
I think the really impact on visibility is cars that are parked on Casa Buena. It's not going to be the impact of the new parking at Marin Luxury Cars. And I think the red zones have been increased from Public Works to really create more visibility, but it's really the cars parked on Casa Buena.
Great. Sounds like it's been thought through then. All right. And while you're up there, do you guys park on San Clemente down there? Do you have a lot down on San Clemente?
And again, I apologize, San Clemente is
The Highway Patrol.
by the Highway Patrol, yes.
Yes.
So we are on a month-to-month from the Acura dealer who owns that plot of land. We do park some cars there, but, we're not locked into anything long-term.
No, the only reason I ask,
Yeah.
and we have the opportunity to have you in front of us,
Sure,
a couple of
sure.
residents that said to me, those guys, are they parking in the setback along that street? And I don't know. So people have said to me, boy, those cars are right up against the trees there, and is that the setback, and are they legally parking there? I don't
The
know.
Audi doesn't have the exterior lights going straight down. They're at an angle, and I drive that street all the time, and it hits you right in the face as you come around the curve. That's not
Anyway,
your problem,
now
that's
it's-
Audi.
the
You've been
Okay.
good
point has
with it.
been raised, and I'm hoping
Acura,
somebody will
sorry.
check into that, and it's one of those things that
Yeah.
should be addressed by somebody in some way, somehow.
So we're happy to comply in any
Thank
way.
you. All right. That's great. So anything else that you guys would like to present? Because we're almost informal here tonight, but if you've got anything else you want to say, please do. Okay. All right. So officially, we will say if there's anybody to make a public comment, now is the time to do so. Seeing none, we will then bring it back up here for deliberation. So,
I had a question first.
Yes.
Could I ask?
Yes.
Okay, it was a parking question.
oh, of the applicant or?
Yes.
Okay, so applicant, yes.
I'm a little, it's a little ambivalent here, that front parking area, which was the test area, is that for consumer cars to come in and park, or is it for showroom models to be displayed?
It would be for display showroom models.
So it's not really parking, it's display,
Correct.
It's stock,
Yeah.
stock?
Mhm.
Okay.
cars for sale.
It's too bad you're not fixing Volvo up.
Yeah.
But
Maybe to
anyway,
come.
okay. That was my question.
Yeah.
Okay. That said, we'll say no more questions of the applicant? Okay. Thank you very much. So, Phyllis, any commentary or questions that you want to bring to our attention?
No, I like the design. I think it's very handsome. It's very modern and clean looking. The colors I saw on the board are excellent, and I certainly have no problem with it. I just want to be sure we take care of the lighting, because that's only going to come back and haunt you and us and the town, because it's happened too many times. And I think Phil will be on top of it. But I certainly can support this and make all the findings.
Thank you. Dr. Bundy?
One of the things we commented on earlier was sort of green building, and I didn't really understand why they were going to change what I think is a very attractive building with some articulation and breakup of the facade. I understand there's a lot of interior work to be done, but realizing that this is all branding, I guess I wish Tata Motors would be more like RH from the standpoint of site-specific building, or RH where they have taken over some historic buildings and created their new gallery concepts, as opposed to one-size-fits-all. I've always liked the appearance of the building. I understand this is a brand-driven change that you really need to comply with, but I think it's unfortunate because all of this nice architecture that's there now is just going to be trashed. And that's a lot of money on your part to have to do that, but it's being required from Jaguar International. That was just my comment.
Thank you, Bob. Charles?
Yeah, so Bob, just to touch on that, since this is, I find that mostly in construction now, the cost of disposal of materials is so cost ineffective that almost anything that is reclaimable or recyclable does get recycled. So I also enjoy your commentary, and I think it's good that we go towards those things. But in most cases, I find that all of buildings especially get recycled these days for the most part. So hopefully that quells your concern a little bit. I don't know. But I just wanted to say, though, about branding is I really appreciate when building stock's continually renewed, right? And it stays fresh and contemporary, and it makes the community stay relevant, right? It's not something that that time forgot. It's continually evolving and reflecting current trends and architectural design or motor design or what. And so, in keeping this a viable commercial corridor, I've seen a lot of other dealerships in the area also update their look, and it's just in line with that. And so I'm really excited that it's coming. I wish we had more opportunities to kind of help this type of ongoing maintenance of a commercial facility, like upgrade. And I think maybe it's because I'm a fan of modern, clean, simple forms. Simplifying the facade a little bit and will bring accentuation of the cars themselves. Ultimately, it's there to sell the cars, not the building. And so I like the building to be a frame to what is beautiful cars, you know, parked out and, in my mind, beautifying the community. It's, you know, these are not junk or used cars that they're putting out there. So, in my mind, I guess that's why I just can really support it and make all the findings.
Okay, well, thank you, Charles. Margaret?
I can make all the findings. One thing I want to comment about is I think the monument signs are really important. Having used the facility often, coming down that street, it is hidden. The whole space is hidden, and you need signage there because people have to signal to turn into the areas. And because it's so hidden, it just sometimes comes up on you very suddenly, almost. And so I think that the monument sign is a very good idea. I can make all the findings, and I think it's
Thank you.
a good idea.
Okay, well, I will say that to some extent, I agree with Dr. Bundy that, you know, it's an attractive building now. And when I look at this color, in the renderings, it's kind of brown, and this color, it's a gray. CC1 is said aluminum siding Prisma Sunshine Gray Metallic. So I worry that it's a little overwhelming as a gray, and it's metallic. It's a far cry from a Porsche dealership down the road. So to that, it's somewhere in between. I get it, metallic, it's the rage, it's happening, this is a commercial space. I would have liked to have seen something a little warmer, but you know, you guys are the ones that are saying this is what we think will do the trick. This will last 10 years, and then it'll have to be upgraded.
You have pictures of an actual, so are those materials the same as the one of the picture of the actual facility? Can we bring up that picture of the actual facility, if they're the same panels, just to see how it manifests in real?
What that?
No, they had actual pictures of a facility in like Scottsdale or something, like it looked like the high desert there.
Oops, that one.
That one?
Yeah, so that's an actual building of this brand. So
So, and with that said, you know, the gray metallic, it may sort of match the California.
right landscape, you think that's the light reflecting off the desert sand?
Yeah, no, I have no idea. It's it looks big, but you know, it's the statement they would like to make. So my position is that's the statement they would like to make. So you know,
I
it'll
like
work.
it.
It's clean, contemporary, and all of that. I think it'll fit with the other Volvo side of things better than I think what's there to some extent. So, you know, it's okay. I'll make the findings. Although if there was a study session on this, I would have said do a brown metal or something instead of a gray metal, or find another color. But we're here. We're now.
It's the brand.
Yeah, it's the brand. Okay. So with that said, we have a condition that we want to place on this that Phil knows what the verbiage is rather specifically. And if you were to read it from another application that we'd approved or similar, then we would add that as a condition to this if someone were to make a motion for this. So would you care to read that?
I don't have, unless it's on that one, Adam, I don't have the exact language, but I will pull it from other resolutions and other conditions of approval, and it's basically stating that lighting shall be turned off on or before 11 o'clock in the evening or close of business.
Okay. And that it's dimmable to standards as reviewed, if we determine it's too bright.
Correct. And all exterior lighting is dimmable and
Right.
on timers.
Okay. And the interior lights would also be in the same vein as well, yeah.
Peter,
Yes.
the town center's parking lot lights, and if you go very late at night, early morning, you'll see they're dimmed down, but they're constructed in such a way that if somebody goes there, the lights are coming up. And you may want to look into that. I don't know
Motion
the
sensor.
exact wording. As an engineer, you know better. I know the architecture end of it. But where the lights could be dimmer, but if anybody goes onto the property, the lights are going to brighten.
They don't have any lights in the project proposal that are parking lights at this time, right?
You're also about, well, there are lights in the parking lot that are going to be shining on the cars at
Right,
night.
but they haven't proposed to change or
Okay.
modify or do anything with the existing lights.
Well,
think
it's something
it's a
to
part of
keep
it.
in mind to do,
Right.
because I think it saves electricity, it's green, and it's safe.
Okay. So with that said, we have a modification or a condition to make sure it gets put on it. Does anybody care to make a motion for approval of this?
Your turn.
Move to approve the project for Marin Luxury Cars, the public hearing for design review and variance for modifications to the existing Land Rover, Jaguar, and Volvo dealerships and associated signs at 195 and 201 Casa Buena Drive, PL-2019-0038-DRC and 0039-VARC, with modifications to the lighting that will be approved by planning.
Second.
And just for reference, this is resolution number 19-020.
Yes,
Okay.
excuse me.
Commissioner Bundy,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Bandel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Metcalf,
Aye.
Chairman Chase.
Aye. Any appeals on this, Mr. Boyle?
Yes, there's the standard appeal language. The project can be appealed within 10 calendar days of today, and there's applications are available at the planning department, and there's a $300 filing fee.
All right then, we'll take a short break while everybody empties the room.
For now, other than, we did, with a couple of commissioners, we're able to tour the RH Gallery building under construction just to see where things are with that. I'm happy to schedule another tour at some point with other commissioners.
I'd like to do that.
Right now, there's a lot of people on site and a lot of construction and a lot of things, a lot of loud noises, so it just depends on when other commissioners want to see it a little bit more fully done or what have you, but we can coordinate something else.
When
with
is their finish date? What are they looking at? Or
October
completion date?
October 24th.
To the day?
Get your outfits, everyone
So-
get their finest
Oh, they're going to do?
ready.
Yeah.
Everybody,
They're
we're
looking
going to do a lotto. Everybody write a date on a piece of paper, we give it to Adam.
See who
Gets
wins?
closest.
Do a pool.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the target date at this point, and so
When the
They're-
shopping center opened, Nordstrom's, they had a big black tie party that was invitation only. That it was a magnificent party.
That's cool, good idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was an interesting thing. I think Charles and I did the tour, and seeing that we appreciate the construction methods and means, and so I think it's hard to visualize what it will look like at this moment for a lot of people, but I enjoyed seeing what they're putting into it, technically. So,
Yeah.
and that said, I don't think we have anything else to cover, do we?
no, we just the minutes we're gonna wait. I think we were waiting until
You said 13th?
Martha comes back. Oh, she was away for a few days, but we got him. So we'll do the July 9th minutes, which were related to the cave. We'll do those at the next meeting, because I think it's important that she actually had a chance to review those and just didn't have a chance.
Okay.
And then the next meeting, obviously, we are looking at the second meeting on accessory dwelling units, and we've been thinking a lot about the comments that we got and revising some of the things that we've talked about, and going to be presenting that to you. There is still legislation. Unfortunately, we were hoping that we'd have a good indication by the end of June as to where the state was going with pending legislation, but it appears that there's another full month between August 12th, when the legislation, the next session, the session, they reopen the session, until I think September 13th or so, around there, where they're going to hammer out a bunch of bills again, and including there's still 3 that are active related to ADUs. So, nonetheless, we think it's still worthwhile coming back and having another conversation now. We'll have to track where the ADU legislation ends up, but we'll just how it is. We can't stop our work, and that's an update on where things are with that.
Peter, Mike McGuire's bill seems to be working its way through very successfully, and he would come and do like a workshop with us and talk to us about his bill, because that one is going to go forward. And as I say, he would come down and just do a presentation and talk to us about it and stuff like that, and allow us to ask some questions of what the heck they're trying to do. But it might be a good idea, to ask them.
Yeah, I think this is, which one are you referring to? The SB 5 that was combined with the 50?
I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head right now. I'll go back and check.
Okay.
But I just know that the different organizations and people usually start fighting all this stuff seem to feel that the one that he was promoting was the fairest. It was saying that some counties with lesser population would not have to do the things around the transit and the high rises and stuff like that. It's very balanced, and it's really trying to reach out to get support from all the groups rather than, someone's always going to be mad and not like it.
That's going to be next year. They're going to pick that up in January of next year.
But as you're doing the ADU stuff, we may want to hear some of these things and look at whether or not we want to work that into what we're doing, because sometimes when something's going to go through.
How about that? Why don't we do? I think it might be a good idea in September or maybe even October, when we have actually the signed legislation for this year, to do a discussion just on housing policy and legislation and where things are going, and sort of some of the current the things that staff has been working on, and whether it's ADUs or we're also been applying for grant funding for other activities related to housing and whatnot. So that might be a good time to do that, just so you know where things are.
We used to do an annual joint meeting with the council, and you might want to talk to Todd that maybe we would want to do a joint thing, so both the council and the planning commission can discuss this and, share some of our ideas.
Todd's aware, and we've talked about that and trying to schedule that, a joint meeting. So that I'll get back to you on when we can expect that to be on the agenda.
I'm saying when we do that, that would be a good time to discuss some of these housing things.
It's information. I think more at that meeting, it's more agenda setting and more of what are the priorities. But we can certainly provide a summary of all the different pieces of legislation that are out there, and certainly in October, even end of September, once things are signed, we can do a review of all the new pieces of legislation and what it means for Corte Madera. So,
Dr. Bundy?
Well, I was going to comment, but I think Adam summarized things that I wouldn't really want to impose on Mike McGuire to come down and just talk to, planning and town council. But if there was sort of a Marin County ADU forum, with council members planning, able to attend, that would be a good time to get Mike and some other housing advocates to discuss things, if something like that materialized.
Right. Okay.
That would be a first.
What?
Yeah.
Southern Marin.
We're working on, no, we are, and I can give you some updates on where this relates to some of the grant funding that we will be applying for. We are working collaboratively with other Marin County jurisdictions and the county on sort of a holistic approach, or sort of a one sort of a clearinghouse through the county website and whatnot, to sort of talk about the different ordinances that we all have, and how, some sample designs and other things to make ADUs sort of more accessible to folks. So there is a lot of collaboration happening amongst jurisdictions related to on the one hand, sort of preparing for the housing legislation that is coming, which but also just to share ideas and best practices amongst each other. So I'm happy to come back once we're a little bit further down the road on that. In fact, I think we'll need to, because I do think there's a role for the Planning Commission to have in as certain things that staff are working on. There's going to be there's a need for the Planning Commission to ultimately be involved in some of this. And otherwise, I'm also looking at potentially setting up a technical advisory committee on some of this as well. So more to come. I'm sorry that you teased out some of that at this meeting, but I'm happy to follow up again on that.
All right.
Well, better doing it at 8 o'clock.
A reminder that
right?
I will be out the 27th of August.
Okay, that's good.
And beyond
Any
that.
other known absences at this time for the commissioners? Okay.
With that said, I think we can move to adjourn. Is that fair to say? This meeting is adjourned. We're off.